This is Counterpoint, and I'm Tanya Granick-Allen. During COVID, thousands upon thousands of Canadians were laid off or fired even for not complying with company COVID vaccine mandates. In most of these cases, companies required employees to present documentation of receiving 2 doses of this new vaccine. And when employees refused to take the experimental vaccine, citing either bodily autonomy or even health reasons, employees were laid off without compensation in many cases for well over a year. Many Canadians who were impacted by these decisions found themselves without work. And recall, the federal government refused EI benefits for anyone laid off or fired for non compliance with vaccine mandates. Well, a recent arbitration decision may bring relief, albeit late, for some Canadians. A recent BC arbiter ruled that the company Purelator Canada must compensate workers who were laid off due to vaccination status. This seems to be the first decision of its kind here in Canada. What impact will it have on other companies and other arbitration and perhaps even court cases? Well, joining me now to share her perspective is Suzanee Anton KC, who was the Attorney General of British Columbia from 2013 to 2017. Thank you, Suzanne, for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Tanya. Pleasure.
So help us unpack this recent arbitration decision. What happened there?
So it is a very standout decision, and so the facts quickly are these: Purelator Canada followed a lot of organizations in imposing vaccine mandates, and they had them in place until about May of 2023. So quite a long time. So the initial period of the mandates, so that the union, the Teamsters Union, took the case to arbitration. And what they did was they actually presented really good evidence. And I'll explain. So the initial vaccine mandate, the arbitrator said that's fine. Everybody else was doing it. The federal government was doing it. Purelator was entitled to act on the public health advice it was getting. So he didn't criticize them for the time from the fall of 2021 up until June of 2022. But in June of 2022, that's when the federal government took off its mandates. And by then, most employers had taken their mandates off. So between June and 2022 and the following May of 2023, that's the period of time he has found the Purelator responsible for compensating its employees. So it's that second time period, which is very unusual. So first of all, this was an arbitration that came along a little later. Second, Purelator had taken a long time to allow its staff back again. And thirdly, for him to order a compensation for that is a first that I know of. I've kind of put it out there asking people, are there other cases where compensation has been ordered? And I don't think so, not that I know of so far.
Wow.
So it'll be a bit of a blow to Purelator, who I'm sure thought they were doing the right thing, but they weren't. It was, it's a blow to the company, but it was a blow to their employees. And this, Tanya, is the bigger thing. It's the blow to employees to lose their employment, to lose their incomes, to be at home with their families with nothing to do. That was the really, really hard thing about these mandates and people being fired.
Right. I mean, forget the financial toll, which is obviously sizable, but the mental health toll alone. You feel unsupported. I can understand how. I can hope to understand what it must be like. But yeah, it was quite the blow. So again, you're right. It's going to send shockwaves. So I found this when I read your story, your write up of this affair. It was fascinating. So yeah, May 2023. That seems like a very long time to keep mandates. You're right. Many jurisdictions had already dropped it. Are there still companies who still have a vaccine mandate?
So I don't know about private companies like Purelator, but I do know that in Ontario, where you are, and in British Columbia, where I am, there are still mandates in place for healthcare workers. And in British Columbia, I've been following this issue fairly closely. Healthcare workers are still not able to go back into the public system unless they have that initial 2 dose of the vaccine, which now is a really long time ago. In Ontario, you don't have a provincial order, but your individual hospitals and hospital districts, I gather you have groups of hospitals, individual hospital groups still have a vaccine order. I think that's changing. I think that in Barrie, I read the other day in Barrie, Ontario, they have actually now lifted their mandate. but fine, but that's, in January of 2024. That's like just now, a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
So
especially when we know that the healthcare system has been under such strain. We're going to continue this discussion in just a few moments.